It's the same day, but me wearing a pony and my glasses because my head hurts. It's hurting for a while and it's really hot and I can't take it anymore. What's up, you guys? Zariti. Welcome back to our channel. It's the same day, like I said, but for you, it's a different Friday. Last Friday or last Friday, I don't know if I actually posted that vlog that I wanted to film. So I have no idea because I'm in the past, you are in the future. But we learned about, or we revised the Stanford study, Stanford Prison Experiment by Zimbardo. And at the end of the experiment, if you haven't seen it, you can check it in the I buttons. I try to explain it as simple words as I could. So that experiment was quite unethical for its reasons, really important for us to understand human behavior, yet it was quite unethical and it could have been done a little differently without being traumatizing for the participants. So there was another study conducted by BBC. Yes, it was conducted by BBC. Just wanted to check because मेरे दिमाग में psychology की दही बन गई है. Not दही actually, it's bhel mixed with pav bhaji. So you can imagine how awful it is. So I kind of mix names at times, not the important ones, but just the like Bushman and Anderson or somebody who has conducted important experiments, but not very famous experiments. Sorry. So yeah, so BBC ने experiment conduct किया which was not unethical and it was conducted in 2006. Remembering yours is a hard thing. So today we are going to see that and it's going to be a really short video, as you can see in the time. I have no idea, again I'm in the past. Anyway, we are going to start the BBC experiment. Okay, so this study was conducted in 2006 by BBC by two social psychologists, Reicher and Haslan. And like this is not like a very new experiment. It was the same Zimbardo experiment, but it had some important difference. So there are going to be prison guards and there are going to be prisoners. They are going to be held in a very prison-like simulation, but there are going to be some important differences that we need to take into consideration. So the first difference is that if you remember in the Zimbardo experiment, the two roles were randomly assigned, but in this BBC study, the participants were told कि आपको prisoner बनाया गया है या फिर guard बनाया गया है after being like on the basis of the extensive psychological testing. So they were actually tested. There were these trained psychologists. They assessed these tests that these participants given and उनके बाद ही उनका सिलेक्शन हुआ और उसके बाद ही उनको वो रोल दिया गया. Then the second difference is that उनको बताया गया था कि पहले ही that the prisoners can be promoted to become guards by the guards. And वैसे एक prisoner को promote भी किया था. I don't know why I started speaking in Hindi all of a sudden, but the prisoners were like one prisoner was also actually promoted to become a guard. And after this event happened, like after the one prisoner became a guard, they were also told कि अच्छा अभी कोई change नहीं होगा, guards will remain guards and prisoners will remain prisoners. Even 3 days later, they all again told them that after being carefully observed, there will not be any change in their roles. So what happened is that they removed any kind of legitimacy to these roles that were assigned to them. If you remember the Zimbardo experiment, so you know that ये सब exchanging of the roles वगैरह, changing of the roles in the middle of the experiment, ये सब कुछ नहीं हुआ उसमें. And due to that, you can actually see dramatic effects happening in this BBC experiment. So first that you can see is that the guards and the prisoners, दोनों, not just the prisoners, वहाँ पे the prisoners kind of rebelled in the beginning, they kind of resisted. But the guards are totally given into the role. यहाँ पे both the people, like both the participants, actually they did not passively accept their roles. In fact, they actually rejected their roles. They rejected their roles, and prisoners actually created this close bonding with other prisoners, and they took action to gain power, and they actually did. Like the prisoners and the guards both came up with a democratic setting, you can say, and both these people, so guards and the prisoners, they kind of took equal power. But finally, the structure, this democratic structure that they built for themselves, which is very funny to actually see, I would love to see it. But that kind of started to fail, and we can understand why, because conformity pressure is so strong that it's very difficult to resist, like I've already mentioned in that video. So I think the same thing happened ultimately, and this democratic structure that they built for themselves also kind of failed. And when it did fail, they had this new rigid authoritarian structure in which the prisoners just surrendered and they totally gave in to the inequality. So both these studies, actually the same study, but एक Philip Zimbardo की थी and one was BBC study. So both these studies have two very important findings. First is that social norms and social structure do not produce acceptance of inequalities. And second is whether individuals will go along with the norm that is imposed on them, which is unequal, that depends on how much people actually identify with their roles. So if they identify a lot with their roles, they will not resist, like the prisoners in the Zimbardo experiment. Whereas if they do not identify with their roles, or they don't identify with their roles a lot, they will resist, like the prisoners in the Zimbardo experiment, and I guess maybe in the BBC experiment as well. So you can understand this is the reason why actually social change occurs. So if you know any of the 70s 80s times in the Western culture, or like where women were actually fighting for their rights, right to vote, right to education, right to get a PhD, right to work, all of those, because women did not identify themselves as just homemakers and housewives, and they could see themselves doing a lot more. And even now when we are fighting, whether it's LGBTQ community or the scheduled caste or women or anybody, any of the minorities, they are fighting not just for their rights because they can see that there is inequality, but also they're not ready to accept this social structure that has existed for years and years. And that is it for today's video. We are done with the Zimbardo and the BBC study. Zimbardo is very, very famous study, so I'm sure if you haven't actually studied it in psychology, तो कहीं पे तो सुना होगा. If not, it's fine, you can go and check the video out. BBC study on the other hand is quite it's 2006, right? It was conducted in 2006, so it's fairly new and not very spoken about. At least I did not know about it when I actually read about the Zimbardo study, or I came across Zimbardo study many years ago. So I hope you learned something new today. Like, share, subscribe to this channel if you like psychology content, and me as well. And yeah, I'll see you next Friday with another psychology video.